Shouldn't have left the hospital, Nicole. I should have stayed there, even though he was so insistent about my going home to get rest.
Well, he was right. You know, you've hardly left that place since Margot was admitted. And you probably haven't eaten anything either.
Happened to sound just like Draper, you know, except you forgot one thing. Now you're supposed to say how selfish I am, that even though I may not be hungry or tired, the baby needs her rest and her food. I wish he'd take his own advice.
Yeah, it's Mrs. Kavanaugh again. Did Dr. Kavanaugh pick up these messages yet? Thank you.
You know, I'm worried about him, Nicole. He's trying so hard to be the big, brave, supportive husband type.
Well, he doesn't have to try, surely.
No, but he's upset. He's got to be as upset as I am, if not more so. He is the one who found Margot.
He's probably feeling a little bit guilty.
Guilty about what?
Nothing. Nothing. Listen, I was just thinking he might feel a little bit guilty because he found her in her condition when he went over there to yell at her.
God, that's another thing. I wish that weren't true. And I wish he hadn't made it so obvious to the police that he was angry at Margot.
April, I know what's going through your mind. Now just don't think about it. Well, you told me that Margot had regained consciousness. Well, when she's herself, she'll tell us what happened, and she must know who struck her, and she'll know that it wasn't Draper.
I've got to tell you something, Nicole. I went to the hospital this morning, first thing after Dr. Corwin. Dr. Corwin called and told me that Margot was regaining consciousness. I was hoping she could talk to me. She could say something to me.
Well, did she?
Yes, she did. Listen, don't say anything. I'll explain the whole thing to you later. Oh. Hello, Logan.
Stand up, company. Thank you.
Well, do you have any theories?
Theories? I have a confession to make. Brilliant attorney though I am, and there are those who've used the word dazzling, I'm not much of a detective. I leave that to the police. People like Deborah and Steve Guthrie.
Oh, are they assigned to the case?
So far, Steve's going to be off it for a while, though. He's got an extradition case he has to handle. He'll be out of town.
It's too bad. We can use all the friends we can get. At least they don't jump to conclusions.
Nobody's going to jump to any conclusions, I can promise you that. Remember, no matter what the police turn up, I'm the one who has to ask for an indictment.
Then you do know what I'm afraid of.
Yes, I do, and I wish you wouldn't worry about it, because nobody is going to convince me that Draper would pick up a fire iron and slug somebody with it. Obviously, somebody was there before him.
Who?
That I don't know. I wouldn't rule out the burglar theory, though, even if the police have.
You know something about this investigation, then?
Well, only that nothing of value was missing from the apartment, but I don't think that's all that significant.
Must have really been somebody who hated Margot.
Or someone who wanted something from her that she wouldn't give.
Such as what?
I feel rotten even suggesting this. I didn't say anything to the police merely because I knew it would sound as though I were trying to accuse someone.
Well, April, you're among friends. Tell us.
Come on.
Just last week, Margot told me that Elliot had asked her for a divorce, begged her for a divorce, and she absolutely flatly refused.
Why would she do that? She threw him out.
Because of the reason he wanted the divorce that she couldn't accept, which was that he wanted to marry Nola Madison.
Are you sure about that?
I'm positive. He was livid. He must have called the studio a dozen times looking for Margot.
It's true. He called a lot, and Margot always refused to talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it sounds like this divorce was very important to him.
He was desperate about it, Logan. I know that for a fact.
Well, did the police know about this?
Well, I didn't say anything to them.
Well, maybe I should. You mind if I use your phone?
Be my guest. Better you than me.
Okey-doke.
Listen, I better start checking on dinner. You will stay, won't you?
Oh, sure. That sounds great.
Good.
I think I'm going to help you with that dinner. What is all this you were going to tell me about Margot in the hospital?
I asked Margot if Draper was innocent, and she said no. She couldn't have heard me. I'm sure she didn't hear me. She couldn't really have been conscious, but the fact is I wasn't alone. Dr. Corwin, the doctor who's taking care of her, was there, and he heard her.
Listen, Deborah, the reason I called, I'm over here at April's, She just told me that Elliot Dorn was furious with Margot. Seems like she wouldn't give him a divorce, which meant that he couldn't marry his current friend, who was no one other than, get this, Nola Patterson.
So he did have a motive.
Looks like it. I thought this might prove useful to you.
Yes, it certainly does, Logan. I thank you very much. All right. Margot refused to give Elliot a divorce, which means he did have something against her.
I have nothing against your theory, but do you mind telling me how in the world he could have done it?
Well, why don't we just think about that later and go talk to him right now?
We can also talk to Nola.
Yeah, maybe this would be a good time to talk to her about Martha Corey.
One thing for sure, Margot. You certainly knocked all the anger out of me. I never realized what a weak emotion anger was until I saw you lying there on the floor. I could feel it just flowing right out of me. All I could think about was getting help for you. Can you hear me, Margot? April says you can. She said that there's still part of your brain that's awake. That you can listen to me. If you can. There's something I want you to know, Margot, about how I feel, about how I felt. I was angry. Didn't I have a right to be? I mean, what you did was ugly. Forcing Henson to reject me for that job. Yeah, I know. You were desperate to keep April here in Monticello. You would have done anything. But why blackmail? But the funny thing is, Henson wouldn't have had to have given into it. His wife knew anything you could have told her. She was a nice lady. A lot tougher, a lot stronger than you gave her credit for. He loved his wife, Margot. I know he fooled around. I'm not going to judge him for that. Maybe it was just his way of trying to stay young. But he did love her, Margot. He loved her enough to tell her the truth. He wanted to clear his conscience. You really missed a tirade. I'm telling you, if you could have heard the things I was going to say, your ears would have blistered. I wanted to tell you that you were never going to see April again, not in my house. That you were never welcome there. And then I wanted to tell you you were never going to see my child. But I know. When I got up there and I saw you, I would have realized that you are April's mother. And she does love you. I probably wouldn't have said half the things I was thinking. But right then, Margot, I mean, right at that moment, I wanted to do anything at all that would hurt you. I just wanted to hurt you. I forgot all about it, though, when I saw you lying there. What happened? I came into the apartment. The terrace doors were open. I thought for sure that whoever did this to you was still there. I checked the balcony. I checked the entire apartment. No one was there. I didn't see a sign of anyone. There's got to be an explanation. I was waiting for you in the car. I saw you go in. I saw you get into the elevator, Margot. Nobody got into that elevator before I did. There you were, lying on the floor and no one was around. It just doesn't make any sense, Mark. God, you can imagine what people are saying. Oh, a man, an angry man, goes up to see his mother-in-law with murder in his eyes. Anyway, I just want you to know it doesn't matter anymore, Margot. I mean, the anger, the job in New York. It probably wasn't right for me. I know I would have missed Monticello. I would have missed my friends here. Would have missed my family. I like my life here. I like working with Mike. I've lived in big cities all my life, Margot. And now I find it impossible, but I love the suburbs. I love my house there. I love everything. I like the people I see, people I meet, the things I do. I know that if I'd given myself half a chance, Margot, I would have liked you too. God, Margot, please don't die. Please don't die.
Mr. Dorn?
Yes.
I'm Dr. Corwin. I've been taking care of your wife.
Yes, of course.
The night nurse told me that you were here. Are you going in to see her?
Well, her son-in-law is there with her right now, and frankly, I don't like to see my wife in that condition.
Excuse me.
But I have no idea when Elliot will be back. I believe he went to the hospital to see how his wife is doing.
Yes, I'm sure he's quite broken up about what happened to her.
Of course he is, and so am I. I think it was dreadful of that young man, Scott. Well, never mind. Look, if you want to speak to Elliot, I'll ask him to call you.
Well, we'd also like to talk to you, Mrs. Madison.
About what? Surely not about Margot. I didn't know the woman, you realize. I only met her once or twice.
No, we'd like to talk to you about a different woman. Somebody you've probably met a lot of times.
What in the world are you talking about?
I'm talking about Mrs. Martha Corey.
Well, so you've been talking to that poor sick man, Dr. Kavanaugh, haven't you? I knew it. He couldn't possibly keep his delusion to himself. I thought that when I came to his office only a week or so ago. Look, if you are friends of his, I certainly hope you're seeing that he's getting professional help.
Are you implying that Dr. Kavanaugh has something wrong with him?
My dear, I'll leave that to the experts. But from what Elliot has told me about him, it seems it runs in the family. His mother was insane. Did you know that?
Mrs. Madison, Dr. Kavanaugh's statement isn't the only reason we know the truth. Now, you know you've been making up as an old lady, Martha Corey, and that you moved right next door to Deborah.
You sound as unstable as he, Mr. Guthrie. Don't tell me it's infectious.
I don't know how you could have fooled me for so long. I guess that's just a credit to your acting ability.
It's a credit to that madman's persuasiveness.
Mrs. Madison, we saw the movie.
What?
We saw Mansion of the Damned. Now, Dr. K, the only person outside of the movie company who knows what Hester Atherton looks like.
Oh, yeah, you couldn't possibly have seen the movie. I haven't seen it myself.
Owen showed us the movie the other day, Mrs. Madison. We only got to be able to see one scene, but fortunately that was enough.
Enough for us to realize how you could adapt the makeup to create Martha Corey.
And Martha Corey, that was another clever invention of yours, since Martha Corey happened to be the first woman who was hanged as a witch in Salem.
You're both out of your minds. You'll never prove such a ridiculous story.
Well, don't worry, we're not trying to arrest you.
And is that what you thought when you saw me outside Deborah's apartment building?
I didn't see you. It's a lie.
Of course you did. Monday night. It was about 10 minutes to 8. Now, I remember the time because it's the same time Elliot's wife was assaulted.
I'm telling you that it's not true. Why would I do such a thing?
Mrs. Madison, you were on the corner buying fruit or something. Now, you gave that up when you saw me. I guess you were anxious to get away. What do you think I was going to do? Tear your wig and your makeup off? Mrs. Madison, please tell us the truth. Sooner or later, we're going to find it out.
Very well. It is true.
Well,
all a joke, Deborah. For heaven's sake, don't you realize that? It was all a simple little practical joke. What a shame you have no sense of humor.
Oh, you're right. There's certain things that I don't have any sense of humor about.
I just thought it would be a delicious game. Once the movie was finished, I missed playing a part. And I thought, well, what fun it would be to play the part of darling Deborah's neighbor. And wasn't I a very good neighbor, Deborah? Didn't I take marvelous care of you?
Well, we have company.
You've missed all the fun, Elliot. We've just been having a delightful conversation.
Well, you haven't missed it all. We have a few questions we'd like to ask you, Elliot.
Really? You mean like official type questions?
If you don't mind.
I've already told Deborah my movements the night Margot was attacked.
Those questions were not official, Elliot.
And there's one question I'm sure Deborah didn't ask you. And that was about your relationship with your wife.
Isn't it obvious? Margot and I are separated.
Elliot, isn't it true that you asked Margot for something more permanent than a separation?
It isn't the husband's call to demand a divorce, if that's what you mean. It's not considered gallant.
Just the same, didn't you go see Margot and ask her her intentions?
Look, I really don't see what this has to do with
We
it.
have information that you requested a divorce.
Now, wait a moment. I thought Mrs. Dawn is in a coma of some sort.
Please, Mrs. Madison, I'd like a straight answer from Elliot.
Well, I didn't have to request a divorce since Margot obviously wanted the separation as much as I did. The marriage was over. What need was there to continue a legal state that had no value to either one of us?
Yes, but divorce does have some value to you, doesn't it? Since you were planning to remarry.
We had discussed it, but that was all.
Elliot, could you tell us again exactly what you were doing the night your wife was assaulted?
Oh, for heaven's sake, the man's already told you. Well, go ahead, Elliot. Tell them again if they insist.
I told you I was at a movie, and that's where I was. At the Riverside Theater, although I can't recall the name of the feature.
It was a space spectacular, Elliot. I looked it up.
I understand you slept through it. Now, isn't that a little difficult with all the noise?
You said you went to a bar afterwards, the nearest bar. Could you please try to describe it for me?
It was a bar. They all look much the same, don't they?
Elliot, you must remember something about the place.
Well, I don't! Damn it! I mean, this is being ridiculous and pointless. The minute you're looking for a criminal, you come to me. Why don't you go and see that ingrate of a son-in-law of hers? I practically heard him confess to it at the hospital. If you want a criminal, go and see Draper Scott.
I don't care if there are 10,000 fingerprints. I want that whole damn place dusted, not just the vicinity of the crime. Oh, Henry, please do what I ask. I still outrank you, remember? Come in.
Derek,
Hi, Nicole.
I feel really foolish about keeping this appointment, but I was in the neighborhood and I thought I'd stop in and tell you in person that our plans for the program have changed.
I'm not surprised.
Movers and Shakers is Margot's baby, and the only reason I'm doing it is that she wanted me to. But under the circumstances, with Margot in the hospital, I thought it'd be best to just shelve it.
It's all right. I understand perfectly. To tell you the truth, I'm a little relieved. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to hold up to your tough line of questioning.
I'm not so tough.
No, you're not. I guess right now you must be worried out of your mind.
Margot isn't just my boss, she's my friend.
And I know what a good friend you are to April.
She's like my sister.
And Draper.
Derek, what's going to happen?
From the point of view of the police department?
I realize if you were just to look at the facts of this case on face value, you might...
Nicole, the worst thing a person can do is to simply not recognize the obvious.
Yes, but this is one case where the answer may not be that obvious. You don't agree with that, do you?
No, I'm afraid I don't. I don't believe in phantoms, trapdoors, or human flies. I believe what my eyes, my ears, and my senses tell me. I believe in concrete facts and logical conclusions.
You think Draper did this?
I haven't put this into effect yet, but it's a warrant for Draper's arrest. Now, the only crime I've outlined here is assault. Let's just hope it doesn't become anything worse.
Doctor! Doctor!
Derek, what's going to happen?
From the standpoint of the police department?
Yes. If you were just to look at the facts of this case on their face value, you might
Nicole, sometimes the worst thing a person can do is to simply not recognize the obvious.
Well, this is one time when the answer may not be obvious. You don't agree with that, do you?
No, I'm afraid I don't. I don't believe in phantoms, trapdoors, or human flies. I believe in what my eyes, ears, and my senses tell me. I believe in solid facts and logical conclusions.
You think Draper did this?
This hasn't been issued yet, but it's a warrant for Draper's arrest. The charge specified here is only assault. Let's just hope it doesn't become anything worse.
You mean murder?
Well, let's face it, it was attempted murder. That blow on the head was meant to kill Margot.
Well, she's not dead, you know. She came to for a little while this morning.
I didn't know that. Why did somebody tell me?
I don't know. It was just for a little while. April said she slipped back into unconsciousness pretty quickly.
April? So her daughter was with her when this happened?
Yeah?
What'd she say?
Nothing. I don't know.
Well, let's hope she comes to again, at least long enough to tell us the name of the person who struck her. Maybe then I won't have to use this on any charge.
Thank you for coming back into my life. Thank you for learning to love me. I learned to love you, Mother. Goodbye.
Derek, I know what you're going to say about this, but I've known Draper for several years, and he just isn't the
He's
sort of
not
person
capable of violence, is that what you mean?
You heard that before.
Only recently from one of my own officers. You know, that's been the biggest problem on this case. All of my top men know Draper and his wife.
Well, maybe you should listen to their opinion.
If I didn't have so many facts to contend with, I would love to listen to their opinions. However, this case is filled with facts.
Misleading facts, if you ask me.
All right, I will ask you, and you tell me my error. We have 2 eyewitnesses, including Draper Scott himself, who saw Margot Dorn enter the apartment house only a minute before he did. There's only one way in and out of that apartment. Draper says that when he got up to the penthouse, there was nobody there. Yet somebody struck Margot a mortal blow. Now, if it wasn't by Draper Scott, I'd like to know by who.
I don't know.
No, but you do know he's not the violent type.
He isn't. I swear he isn't.
No more than your own husband? Look, I'm sorry, Nicole, but you do have an example close to home, don't you?
Derek, Miles was not responsible for my fall on the stairs. I told you it was completely accidental.
But he did become violently emotional. Calm, reasonable, gentle Dr. Kavanaugh. Well, why couldn't calm, reasonable, gentle Draper Scott become violently emotional and give in to a violent impulse? Nicole, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to draw any parallels like that.
Chief?
Hello.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, well, hello, Nicole.
I was just leaving.
Perhaps you'd better stay. Got some bad news.
Is it about Margot?
Yeah. Hospital called me a little while ago. She's dead.
God. I can see April.
Well, our situation seems to have changed. Perhaps we'd better discuss it.
Yes, I think you're right. We better discuss it.
What's that? I heard a rumor you were about to make an arrest.
Well, I've been considering it. Of course, now this warrant has to be changed from assault to homicide.
The name on the warrant, that doesn't change. Huh?
No, that doesn't change. Look, I've given a half-dozen lectures this week on objectivity to my men, telling them not to let their personal feelings get in the way of this investigation.
Oh, yes. Your famous friendship lecture.
Logan, I know Draper Scott is your closest friend, and that you do everything you can to postpone having to serve this. But he's not my friend. And even if he was...
Derek, you know why I'm sure he's innocent?
Why?
Because he said he is. No. If Draper had temporarily lost his reason and attacked his mother-in-law, he'd have admitted it. But he hasn't. He swears he did not do it, and that is good enough for me.
I see.
Now, I hate to pull rank on you, but I'm the one that has to ask for an indictment in this town. And I don't care how baffling these circumstances seem to be to you. I'm telling you that there is another explanation, and it is your job to find it.
I know all of this, Deborah. Steve's already told me.
Yeah, I know, but I just thought I'd like to tell you just the same, since I was Mrs. Madison's victim. And I thought you'd like to know something else, too. That Mrs. Madison admitted to being Martha Corey.
Is she really?
Mm-hmm.
It's more than she ever did for me. She just kept on denying it.
Yeah, well, Steve and I learned about it when we went over to the Madison. Are you all right, Miles? You seem a little cold or something.
No, I'm fine.
Yeah. Anyway, we went over to question Elliot about Margot Dorn.
Elliot?
He's living there, you know. In fact, my information tells me that he and Nola are planning on getting married.
He doesn't waste any time, does he?
Really? Well, the thing is, I think there's going to be a slight hitch in the plan since Margot said she wasn't going to give him a divorce. So you can understand why the police are so interested.
Oh, yeah, of course, that gives him a motive.
Yeah. Well, he has an alibi, too. Well, I don't know if it's going to hold up, though. Anyway, that's not what I came here to tell you. I just wanted to tell you thank you for telling Steve about what Mrs. Corey was up to, Madison, whatever.
I'm just glad the truth is all out in the open. What are you planning to do about it?
Nothing. Right now, anyway.
I see. How about your boss, Chief Mallory?
Oh, he doesn't know anything. I'm not telling him anything.
What do you think about him, Deborah? What do you think of Derek Mallory? He's quite the ladies' man, isn't he?
What?
Has he ever made a pass at you? I mean, you're a very attractive young woman.
Goodness, no.
By the way, have you seen Nicole around headquarters lately?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I saw her when I was leaving. She was with the chief.
I knew it. Where else would she be except with the chief? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to lose my temper. It's just I'm a little sensitive on this subject, you know.
Miles, I'm not quite sure what the subject is.
Sure you are. It's Derek Mallory, passionate police chief. That's a good name for him, isn't it?
Well, I've heard him called a lot of things, but that's not one of them.
I mean, you don't know? I thought everybody down at headquarters had figured it out by now. I mean, with his crush on Nicole. Can't blame him, of course. She's the most beautiful woman in Monticello. lady cops accepted.
Well, Miles, I don't know about that. I mean, don't you think that Chief Mallory is not the kind of person to have any kind of tender feelings as far as I'm concerned. At least he doesn't show them in public.
Oh, of course not. No, of course. He's got to hide them. He's got to hide his feelings for Nicole. Keep them private. After all, she is still a married woman, right? Even though we are separated.
Miles, this isn't true what you're saying.
How do you know it's not true? Does he confide in you, Deborah? Does he tell you about his private life?
No, he doesn't. He's all business.
Yes, he's all business until it comes to Nicole. All business. But don't you let him fool you. Your boss has a heart, Deborah, and right now it is beating double time for my wife. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get into this. Thank you very much for coming over here, Deborah, and telling me about Nola Madison. I'm glad that's all over with.
Yeah, I'm sure it is now that the masquerade is over.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad it's over. She's a dangerous woman, or, well, she might have become one.
Well, Miles, I'm gonna go now. I've got to drop into a couple of neighborhood bars and ask some questions.
Oh, you take care of yourself, huh?
Miles, take care of yourself.
Oh, sure. Listen, I am the doctor, right? It's not quite as macho a job as chief of police, but that's what I am. She's with him again. Right now. Oh my God. How am I going to be able to stand this?
But you could have done better, Elliot. Didn't you realize how it sounded? Telling the police that you went to a movie the night your wife was assaulted. That you dropped in to a bar you can't even name.
I told them the truth.
That doesn't matter. It simply isn't enough of the truth.
How much is necessary? Look, all that matters, darling, is that I was nowhere near Margot's house that night. I was on the other side of town, just as you were.
But at least I was seen by someone. By Steve Guthrie. Didn't anyone see you?
No one who knows me, I'm afraid. The movie house was completely dark. The bar was quite empty.
But there was a bartender, wasn't
Oh, yes,
there?
yes. There was a bartender, but he was one of the surly types who never looks at his customers.
You're taking this very lightly, Elliot.
But damn it, Nola, I told those people the truth. Now, is it my fault that the truth sounds like a falsehood?
You didn't even remember the name of the movie you saw.
It was some space opera or something. I fell asleep during it. I don't like ray guns and rocket ships and all that stuff, you know.
You didn't identify the movie. The police did. By checking the program for that night. Darling, don't you see how worried I am?
That what?
They know that you asked Margot for the divorce and she refused it. Don't you see the implication?
Did I try to kill her? For some sort of instant divorce?
Well, isn't that obvious?
I had no such thing.
And why have you lied to the police?
Darling, please.
You did lie, Elliot. I know when you're lying.
You're beginning to sound like my wife, Nola.
Damn it, Elliot. You've got to tell the truth. Look, I want to know where you were exactly when your wife was being bludgeoned.
No, Nola, my sweet. No, listen. I realize that the explanation I gave the police doesn't give me an ironclad alibi. But I thought it would be much better to tell the simple truth, no matter how unconvincing it may sound.
But why a movie? Why didn't you come home?
You weren't at home, Nola. Why would I come home to an empty house? You were out playing a masquerade.
I hope you don't think that what I did was silly, Elliot. Dressing myself up as that old woman next door to Deborah.
At least now I know how you spent your days.
It was a ridiculous sort of joke, I know that. But you have to understand how I felt when Owen left me because of that woman.
You wanted revenge.
I don't know what I wanted. Yes, I suppose I did want to hurt her in a way, or at least find out what she was doing.
So you were hoping to get Owen back.
No, that wasn't the reason. It wasn't after you came into my life. But I couldn't stop the game that easily. You understand?
What were you doing outside the building that night Detective Guthrie spotted you?
I was going to pack up the things I'd left in the apartment, that's all. The game was over, Elliot.
Game is over. Now it seems we have to play a new game.
I just hope we aren't the losers. Hello?
Hello, Mrs. Madison. This is Police Chief Derek Mallory.
Yes, Chief Mallory. What is it you want?
Well, I wonder if Elliot Dorn is there with you.
Yes, he's here. Did you want to speak to him?
Please.
Just a moment. Dear God, the Chief of Police.
Don't worry. Yes?
Mr. Dorn, perhaps I should be telling you this in person, but I thought you might want to know as soon as possible.
No what?
Your wife passed away an hour ago.
Dear God.
Please accept my sympathies.
Yes. Thank you, Chief. I'll do whatever is necessary under the circumstances. Goodbye.
What is it?
Margot's dead. I guess I have to do the right thing, whatever that is.
Where are you going?
To the hospital, I suppose. I still am her closest relative, no matter how far apart we were.
But she has a daughter.
I have to keep up appearances, Nola. That's what you're very concerned about, isn't it? Appearances. Oh, there's one thing, though, that is different now.
What?
There is no longer any reason for us not to become man and wife, is there?
You know, I spent a couple of hours with your mother this afternoon. I was talking to her. I don't know if she heard me or not, though. I told her I wasn't angry with her anymore. That whole business with Henson and the job in New York, it's just so unimportant now. I asked her to forgive me.
Oh, Draper, I'm so glad you did.
I don't feel angry anymore. I just feel terribly sad.
I don't know what I feel. I can't believe she's dead. I did love her, Draper.
I know. And she loved you so much. I don't know how I could have ever hated anybody who loved you so much. Come on.
Draper, she loved you. She did. I'm sure she loved you. And I think if she had only gotten the chance, she would have told you that.
I know. Did Dr. Corwin say anything when he called this morning? Did your mother ever regain consciousness at all? She say anything?
Not really.
False alarm, huh?
Yeah, I guess that's what it was. Draper, who could have done this to her? Who could have murdered my mother?
I don't know, honey. The police will find out, though. I mean, Deborah and Steve are working on the case. You just have to believe that they'll find the person who did this. The right person.
Look at all these fingerprints. There must be 200 unidentified, unclassified fingerprints. No two alike. The traffic in and out of that penthouse must have been unreal.
Okay, you've convinced me. It's very puzzling. Are you or are you not going to serve that warrant?
I would like one reason not to.
I gave you a reason.
Oh, I know your reasons, Logan. He's not capable of violence. Well, that's not good enough. This is a very important case, as you know. The most important case I've had since I've taken this office, and I'm not going to be known as a dawdler.
Oh, you'd rather have the reputation for being quick on the trigger, is that it? How are you going to feel if you arrest Draper today and tomorrow the real killer turns up, huh?
I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, why can't you wait a few days and find out? Your investigation isn't even concluded yet. Yesterday it was an assault. Today it's a murder.
The facts haven't changed. I would like you to give me one idea as to how this crime could have been committed by anybody else but your friend Draper Scott.
Not my responsibility.
Excuse me, I hate to interrupt you, but I've got some information. Hi, Logan. I've been checking out the alibi.
Whose alibi is that? You working on the Dorn murder?
Yeah, I am. Did you say Dorn murder?
Yes, she died an hour ago.
Oh, my God.
We'll continue. What happened?
I checked out the two bars within a 5-block radius of the Riverside Theater, and there was one that's been closed ever since 10 days ago, and the other one is a neighborhood bar frequented by 4 or 5 regulars, and that is it. Chief, I'm telling you that I've learned enough information. I think somebody else had to have killed Margot Dorn.
Well, why can't you wait a couple of more days to find out? You haven't even completed your investigation yet. Yesterday it was an assault. Today it's a murder.
Well, the facts haven't changed, have they,
the
Logan?
facts, the
Look, I'd
facts.
hold off forever if you could give me one idea as to how this crime could have been committed by anybody else but your friend, Draper Scott.
It's not my responsibility. You're the
Chief,
detective.
excuse me, I've got some information for you. Excuse me.
Deborah.
I've been checking out that alibi.
Alibi? What alibi is it? You working on the Dorn murder?
Yeah, I am. I've been to a couple of... Did you say murder?
Yes, Margot Dorn died about an hour ago.
Oh, my God.
Go on, what were you saying?
I checked out the only 2 bars within a 5-block radius of the Riverside Theater. One of them was closed for vacation, has been for the last 10 days. The other one is a neighborhood bar with only 4 or 5 regulars in it. Chief, I'm trying to tell you that I think I've got enough information to prove that somebody else killed Margot Dorn.
Well, for God's sake, Deborah, who is it?
Well, I've been checking out Elliot Dorn's alibi regarding his whereabouts the night of the murder.
Yeah? What is his alibi?
Oh, something about having gone to the movies and out for a couple of drinks?
Yeah, he said he went to this movie. It was so bad he couldn't remember the name of it at the Riverside Cinema. Anyway, I checked it out. It would happen to be a very good movie. It should be up for an Academy Award.
That doesn't prove anything So he doesn't agree with the critics.
Well, he also forgot the name of the bar that he went to afterwards.
The dives in that neighborhood aren't the kinds of places you plan on going back to.
But I'm saying this is the only bar that he could have gone to without walking another 8 or 9 blocks. This is the kind of bar where everybody knows everybody else.
They know Elliot?
No, they didn't. That's just the point. I talked to the bartender the night that Margot was murdered. He said it was a very slow night. There were only 4 or 5 regulars there. I showed him a picture of Elliot. He said he never saw him before.
It's very interesting, Detective. It's not conclusive.
Well, he's lying, Chief. Why else would Elliot lie? Except to hide the truth.
And what do you think the truth is?
I think that Elliot killed his wife.
Detective, I don't know if you've knocked down Elliot Dorn's alibi or not, but even if you have, that doesn't mean he killed his wife.
How about this one? Motive.
Damn good one, too.
Wait a minute. Have you two been rehearsing this?
Well, we do know something that you don't. Little tidbit we learned from April Scott.
Well, let's hear it.
Well, you know they're separated. Margot threw Elliot out on his ear.
Yes, but there are less drastic ways of ending a marriage.
Yeah, and divorce is the most common, but that's just the problem. Margot did not want to give Elliot a divorce.
Why not if she threw him out of the house?
Something changed her mind. Or should I say someone?
Nola Madison. The minute that Elliot took up with her, Margot refused to give him a divorce.
Oh, I see. Out of sheer spite.
April said she was absolutely adamant about it. And she wasn't going to give him what he wanted.
And since Elliot would have no legal right to Nola's money without being her legal husband, that divorce was important to him.
And, of course, all this information came from only one source.
Oh.
Margot confided in her daughter naturally.
And her daughter is married to Draper Scott.
I've known April for years. She wouldn't make up this story to protect her husband.
You've known her husband for years.
Other people must have known how Margot felt about a divorce. I'm sure I can prove it, Chief.
Making it necessary for him to have to get rid of her by other means.
A lot of spouses have been killed for that reason.
What about Nola Madison herself? Isn't she still married?
No. Well, she's married, but they want to get a divorce, too. I think her husband wants a divorce more than she does. And she can't be suspect because we know exactly where she was at the time of the murder.
But we don't know where her boyfriend was.
Well, there's something else we don't know. How he could have committed the crime.
Well, let's just figure it out then. Now, we know that Elliot was living there up until the time that Margot threw him out. He must have had keys to every lock in the place, known every access route.
The blueprints show that the elevator is the only access route.
Well, maybe he found out a way to conceal himself in the apartment.
Detective, we're talking about a modern high-rise building. There aren't any secret passageways to hide out in.
Elliot did it, and I'm going to prove it.
Come in.
Detective Stoner reporting for duty, Chief.
What are you doing?
Hey, Logan. Hi, Red.
Well, Calvin, you pack a week ahead of time. Don't tell me the honeymoon's over already.
No way.
Well, yeah, I thought you were supposed to be in St. Croix.
Yeah, we were. We were having a good time, too. But the news of what happened to Mrs. Dorn was in the paper down there, and I got to feeling a little guilty about being away, knowing how short-handed you guys are up here.
Star must have loved that.
Well, actually, it was Star who suggested we come home. I think she figured my mind must have been on what was going on here. No comment.
Well, I can't say that I'm not glad to see you, even if you are wearing that shirt. Anytime you want another week off, you just let me know.
Chief, now that Calvin's back, how about letting him partner with me on the Dorn case?
Well, I'd love nothing more, Red, but you know how the chief feels about 3 cops on 1 case.
Oh, but Steve is not my partner this time. He's on his way to California.
It's all right. Go ahead.
Thank you. Come on, I'll fill you in on the details on the way over. Bye, Logan.
Take care.
Chief, as soon as we find out anything, you will be the first to know.
Let me be the second one.
Ciao.
It's been a long day. I guess I better be getting along too.
Yeah. No, I got a few other cases I gotta catch up on here.
Thank you
For what?
for not sending them out with that warrant for Draper's arrest. I appreciate your holding off on it.
Well, let's just see what Saxon can come up with on this theory of hers. But, I'm gonna keep this in my top drawer for now.
still can't believe it. I fully expect to walk into that studio tomorrow morning and see Margot there just like always.
It's going to take some time.
Never be the same. Ever. Margot's dead. My mother's dead.
Well, look, you want to go upstairs and try to get some rest now?
No, I don't want to go to bed. I'm not tired. Draper, why did it happen? Who could have done it? Who could have killed her?
I don't know, April. I just don't know. That's one of those damn reporters.
Hello, Draper.
What do you want?
I would like to speak with your wife, please.
About what, Elliot?
April, you have my deepest sympathies.
Is that all you came to say?
No, April. We've never been close. But I think tonight we share a common ground. May I come in, please? When I heard of Margot's brutal attack, I was horrified. And then to learn she didn't survive, the news has me badly shaken up.
Really?
I share your grief, April. I want you to know that.
You couldn't care less, Elliot. Can't you be honest for once in your life?
That's where you're wrong. Margot was as much a part of my life as she was of yours.
Only now that she's out of yours, you couldn't be happier.
Margot and I may have parted company, but I wish to no ill will, I can assure you.
Take it easy, Dawn. You're upsetting my wife.
It's all right, Draper. What are you going to tell me next, Elliot? That you were hoping for a reconciliation?
There was no saving the marriage. Even though Margot and I have parted company, I still had a great deal of respect and admiration for her.
After all the heartache you caused my mother, you have the gall to sit here in my house and tell me that?
I may not deserve the title of the world's best husband, I bet that.
Margot was willing to provide you with absolutely everything you could ever possibly want, but that wasn't enough for you, Elliot. You wanted everything, and you didn't care what it took to get it.
April.
The way you treated my mother, Elliot, was criminal, and I mean that in the most literal sense of the word. That you were sitting here right now when you tried to frame my mother for murder?
At that moment, I honestly thought you had shot Wade Meacham.
Oh, so you were just being the good citizen. You never entered your mind that with Margot out of the way, the penthouse and everything was yours to do with it what you will.
April, these things are things of the past. I admit I have done Margot a lot of wrong.
It's a little late for apologies, though, isn't it, Elliot?
Look, I wish I could make amends. I do have a conscience, you know.
Elliot, you won't lose 1 second's sleep over anything you ever do in your whole entire life.
If I were as callous a human being as you make me out to be, why do you think I came here tonight?
Well, that's a very good question. Why did you?
I'll tell you why I'm here. Because I cannot get Margot's forgiveness. I was hoping I could get her own daughters.
Well, I'm sorry, Elliot. It isn't my place to grant you absolution for your sins. And even if it were, I'm feeling a little too sorry for myself right now to have any room left to pity you. I really don't want to talk to you anymore. I just think you better leave.
You sure you want to watch that news tonight?
Yes.
The most difficult assignment a reporter can be asked to handle is the death of a colleague. Tonight, I must report the untimely passing of a fellow broadcaster, as well as a dear, dear friend, Margot Huntington Dorn. Miss Huntington succumbed earlier today to head injuries sustained during a vicious, senseless attack that took place in her apartment 2 nights ago. She remained in a coma from the time of the attack and was unable to identify her assailant. The killer's identity, as well as motive, remain a mystery. Monticello Police Chief Derek Mallory has made this case a top priority. Miss Huntington leaves a daughter, WMON reporter April Scott, as well as a husband. Our heartfelt sympathies go out to both of them. When Margot Huntington came to Monticello 2 years ago, she had a reputation as being one of the most dynamic executives in print journalism, but she was determined to make her mark in television. She purchased WMON and put all her energies into making this station one of the most respected broadcast outlets in this state. Professional accolades, as well as viewer response, have indicated that she was a success. But Margot was not one to rest on her laurels. She always strived to do more. And that's why we felt that it would be a proper sign-off to Margot to show the tape we are about to air. It was recorded just a short time before she received the injuries that were to cause her death. In it, Margot discusses her plans for WMON's upcoming election coverage for election year 1980.
The straw ballots have been cast. The candidates are getting nervous, and the primary season is just about upon us, which means only one thing. We're all going to be heading for the polls very shortly to elect a new president. With all the complicated issues and the number of presidential hopefuls, WMON felt obligated to try and find the most politically aware and informed person they possibly could to spearhead their election coverage. Well, our choice was not a difficult one. I'm very proud and pleased to announce that Geraldine Saxon, Monticello's most prominent political figure, has agreed to join WMON for the next year with her analysis, her coverage, her instincts, and her insight. Geraldine, welcome aboard.
Thank you very much, Margot. And I'm very flattered by your introduction. I only hope I can live up to my advanced billing.
Well, today's news would indicate that this election may be one of the most exciting of the past century. Frankly, I wouldn't miss it for the world. How do you see it?
Well, of course, I couldn't agree more that this is going to be one of the most crucial elections in our time.
So you believe by the time both parties go to their respective conventions, the field of candidates will have narrowed considerably?
Well, of course, some of them are going to fall by the wayside as a result of the primary. And then there will be those who will retire gracefully long before that when they realize that they simply cannot raise the funds necessary to run for that Oval Office.
Many people believe that the incumbency is a decided advantage. How do you feel about
Jamie's
that?
asleep, finally. No, don't turn that off on my account.
No, I've seen enough.
Well, what I heard sounded pretty good.
Strange, isn't it, Logan? Ironic that Margot's last interview should coincide with my television debut.
Very unhappy coincidence.
You know, Margot was wonderful. She did everything possible to make me feel at home there. I didn't get to know her very well, but still I feel a dreadful sense of loss.
I feel outrage. Useless waste of life. I think I need a drink. Can I fix you one?
No, dear, thank you. I've just been sitting here wondering how April is bearing up under all this.
I haven't spoken to her since her mother died, but she was devoted to Margot. I imagine she's devastated.
I feel terrible for that child.
I'm going over there in a little while. I want to tell her how sorry I feel.
When you do go, convey my sympathies too, Logan, would you?
Certainly will. I just hope I'm not the conveyor of any more grief.
What makes you say a thing like that?
Well, it'll be a hell of a time to have to tell her that her husband was going to be arrested for her mother's murder.
You can't be serious.
I'm afraid that Derek Mallory is about that far away from serving a warrant with Draper's name on it. If he decides to do that, I think the news should come from a friend.
But surely you can't believe that Draper would be involved in a crime that brutal, or any crime for that matter.
As far as I'm concerned, if he says he didn't do it, then he didn't. Stall Derek as long as I can on this investigation, but I can't ask him to base his conclusions on Draper's word that he's innocent.
Why would he think him guilty?
The facts. Much as I hate to say it, the facts pointing to Draper are overwhelming.
That's very nice, Nicole. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Hello, Nicole.
Miles.
I thought you handled that show very well.
Thank you. It wasn't easy.
It's really a shocking thing about Margot. I'm very sorry about that.
April is taking it very hard.
I guess she would. Gotta go over and see her.
How are you?
I'm all right.
I've been worried sick about you. You haven't answered any of my messages. Why didn't you call?
That's the way it's gotta be. I explained all of that to you.
Why are you here?
Well, I was just in the neighborhood. I thought I'd drop by and see how you were.
Well, why don't you give me a lift home tonight?
No.
Miles, come on,
not yet.
please. Come on home with me tonight.
No, I'm not ready for that yet.
I've missed you. And so's Adam, you know. I've run out of excuses for telling him why his daddy isn't home.
Yeah, well, I'll try to give him a call.
We need you. That isn't good enough.
Not the way I am now, you don't.
Would you let me help you?
No, I haven't changed my mind. I gotta work this out myself.
Well, then come home for April's sake. We're a family, you know, and we need you.
I'll do whatever I can to comfort April, but I have to stay away from you right now.
Why?
For one thing, because it's what you want, obviously.
What?
Oh, what is the big deal? Just because I haven't been around doesn't mean that you have been lonely.
How can you say that?
If I were to come back, you wouldn't be able to spend any more nice little evenings with your new friend Derek like you did tonight.
Oh, you ever got it into... Can you listen to what
Listen,
you're saying?
don't try to deny it, please. I mean, I heard from Deborah Saxon that that's where you were tonight. You listen to me, Mrs. Kavanaugh. In this world, if you want to play, you have to pay. And there's a price for everything, including infidelity.
Have some servers here. Another double.
You sure about that?
I'm just pleasantly tipsy, I assure you.
Yeah, another one of these and you'll tipsy right off of that stool there.
Listen, just leave the bottle here. You don't have to save you the trip of going and getting it every time. I'll take care of it.
Forget it.
Oh, gash on the barrel ahead. Oh, okay.
That's your last one. You've had your limit.
I know my limit.
Look, pal, I shoveled snow all day long, so I'm not in the mood to throw you out of this place. So just finish this drink and get out of here, okay?
What?
Elliot? Hello.
Well, Mona's at its finest. Well, sit down. Can I buy you a drink? I'm paying.
Thank you. We're on duty.
No, I hate to drink alone.
I don't know, you seem to be doing okay.
Okay, Elliot, let's get this over with.
I expected you to drop by, but not quite so soon. I'm not sure I'm in the mood to talk just yet.
Look, Elliot, it was you who called and asked us to meet you here.
We would like to know why.
The reason I convened you, my friends, is because I have a confession to make. A full confession. The reason I convened this meeting, my friends, is because I have a confession to make. A full confession.
I think we ought to go back to headquarters for this one.
Yeah, I was hoping that wouldn't be necessary.
Sooner or later, Elliot, you're going to have to make some kind of an official statement.
Look, I want this to remain between the three of us.
Now, that's not possible, and you know it. I mean, we've got certain procedures that we have to follow.
Now, wait a minute. You're thinking I want to confess to Margot's murder? What we got here, officer, is a failure to communicate. I have a confession to make. But of indiscretion, not murder.
Okay, Elliot, what is this all about?
Look, I want to tell you where I really was the night Margot got so brutally attacked.
Oh, that's really nice, since we already know you were telling us a lie about your last story.
But I have to impress upon you that the information I'm to provide must remain a secret. Discretion is of the utmost importance.
We can't make you any promises.
Why are you so reluctant to tell us?
Because the truth could impair my relationship and make it impossible to continue.
Look, you get convicted for murder, and you aren't going to have any future.
Look, Deborah, look, it could alter my relationship with the woman I love. And make it impossible for me to live happily ever after.
What is it you don't want Nola Madison to know?
The night that my wife was having her head bashed in, I was in a motel room with a young lady. I couldn't very well admit to that in front of Nola, for obvious reasons.
Look, you're married to one woman, you're engaged to a second, and fooling around with a third. Man, that is quite a parlay.
What made you decide to confess, Elliot, besides half a bottle of scotch?
Deborah, whatever I may be, I'm no fool. I know that being the estranged husband of Margot will put me near the top of the list of suspects.
Oh, you got that right.
And I also know that my alibi would be so paper thin that it would be only a matter of time before the Monticello police saw right through it.
Right again.
And the minute you found out I was lying, you would assume that I had something to hide.
Crossed our minds.
Well, I am guilty of indiscretion, not murder.
Okay, assuming that your story does check out, Elliot, I think it's going to be impossible to keep it under wraps.
You must, Deborah. You must, not only for my sake, but for the ladies as well.
Oh, why?
Because she happens to be a married woman.
Oh, better and better.
I didn't think it was the role of the police to make moral judgments.
Look, just give me the details. Where'd you meet her and what time exactly?
Well, that's where the problems start.
Meaning what?
Meaning I can't give you any details.
Oh, for crying out loud, Elliot.
Look, I know this is not very satisfying, and this may not help my credulity any. But I felt I had to tell you, and just hope you'd understand.
Mr. Dorn, not only do I make moral judgments, but occasionally I use my brain. Now, an alibi without details is no alibi at all.
Come on, Elliot, this is silly, you know. It's one thing to make up a story, but another thing to hide it.
Deborah, I wish it could be otherwise. I really do. But not only would it ruin my relationship with Nola, but I made a promise to this young person not to reveal her name.
I see, just being noble, eh?
I swore to her that I wouldn't reveal it to anyone.
Her husband wouldn't like it, huh?
No, he wouldn't. Deborah, we were friends once, were we?
Yeah, but you were not noted for your honesty then either.
Look, I'm being honest now. Can't you tell?
I can't.
What about a polygraph test? But I could go down to the headquarters and take a test, and then I wouldn't have to give the name of the girl, would I?
Elliot, nobody at headquarters is going to agree to give you so limited an examination. It wouldn't prove
So
anything.
you're not an official suspect yet, so you couldn't do that.
Unless, of course, Mr. Dorn thinks something is going to come up that's going to make him an official suspect.
You know very well the circumstances of Margot's murder. You know very well that there is only one possible suspect. Now, if you do want my advice, you will take that suspect and put him behind bars.
Well, thanks for your advice.
Anytime, if you'll excuse me.
Well, what do you think?
Don't know. I mean, he could be telling the truth. Sometimes a weak alibi is a lot better than a strong one, you know?
Yeah, well, he just could be aware of that, too. I mean, he's no fool, Deborah.
The question is, though, is he a killer?
I don't know, Logan. I keep trying to make some sense out of it, but I just can't.
Well, I sure wish there was something I could say, but never is at a time like this.
Honey, it's getting late. You sure you don't want to go to bed?
I shouldn't even be here. I'm going to scoot. I just came by to say how sorry
No, you stay here. Listen, I think it helps to talk about it.
There's one thing I know. It'll take time, but the pain will go away.
You know, it's difficult enough to cope with losing Margot, but right now I'm living with this fear that the next time the doorbell rings, it's going to be the police to
Hey,
arrest
come on.
Draper.
That's enough. No more talk like
Draper, if I lost you now, too, I don't know what I'd...
April, that's enough. I don't want to hear that kind of talk. I had nothing to do with Margot's death, so I have nothing to worry about.
Draper, don't ignore the facts that circumstances make you a prime suspect.
Nobody's going to arrest Draper. At least not right now.
Oh? Sounds like you know something.
I was over at Derek Mallory's office this evening, and, well, the evidence against you is pretty damning. But it's all circumstantial, and he knows that. He also knows what kind of a person you are, and he's not going to act hastily.
Logan, innocent people do get convicted on circumstantial evidence. I think I'm a prime example of that. And the way it stands right now, Draper is the only one who could have done it.
Well, I'm afraid he's lost the distinction of being the only suspect on the list.
What?
Elliot Dorn's up there with him.
Yeah, but Dorn said he went to a movie that evening, then he hung out in a bar for a while.
Well, some pretty thorough investigative work by Deborah Saxon has punched that alibi full of holes. It looks like a slice of Swiss cheese right
You
now.
mean he was lying?
That's what Deborah thinks. And add that to the motive that you gave us.
Wait a second. What motive?
Well, I just told Logan what Margot had told me, that Elliot had asked her for a divorce and she refused.
Now, wait a second. If you're going to accuse somebody because you
Draper,
don't like them...
I was only telling Logan the truth. Elliot was furious when Margot refused the divorce. He must have called the station a dozen times looking for... If you don't believe me, ask Nicole.
I believe you, but I also see what you're trying to do, and it's not...
Draper, Elliot was desperate to marry Nola Madison. Now, he couldn't do that unless he had gotten a divorce first, right?
Not in this state.
And Margot exploded when she found out what he intended to do. And then again, who his intended was. And then Margot realized that if she gave Elliot a divorce, he'd be very happy.
And that's the last thing that she wanted to do, believe me.
And that's when she swore to Elliot that she would not give him a divorce.
And you think he got his freedom another way?
It's possible, isn't it?
Draper, if I were you, I wouldn't go around ignoring suggestions, especially when they make this kind of sense. I mean, considering your circumstances.
And remember what Logan said, that Elliot does not have a proper alibi for the night of the murder.
Well, you know, I appreciate what the two of you are trying to do, and believe me, I wish it were the answer,
If
but
it
I
isn't
don't...
an answer, it's the beginning of one.
Well, just prove it. That's all we have to do, is prove it.
Honey, give us a call. We'll come right in. There you go.
Thank you.
You know, this is the first time in a couple of days I've seen April brighten up.
I should have mentioned Elliot's name the minute I came in.
Yeah, Logan, are you sure you're just not giving us a false dose of hope here?
Draper, without sounding too vituperative, I have to say that Elliot Dorn is scum. The man is totally amoral.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put murder past him, not for a minute.
And I've got to put a pin in your balloon, Logan.
Oh, come on. I mean, this is the first positive news that we've heard.
All right, look. Assuming he had the motive, when did he do it?
Come on. Theory is a couple of hours old. Give the police a chance. They'll put the pieces together.
Logan, I was sitting in the car waiting for Margot. I saw her go in. I saw her get in the elevator. I mean, if we had been any closer, we would have gone up in the car together.
It's a good thing you didn't. Whoever clobbered your mother-in-law might have gone after you.
The car came back down. I got on. I mean, nobody got on with me or before me. Yet in the time it took to get up to the penthouse, somebody killed Margot?
Home run swing with a poker doesn't take that long.
Oscar swore she was up there by herself.
Okay. Suppose Elliot came by during the day, huh? Why couldn't he do that? He was married to her, he used to live there, he had keys to the place. Oscar wouldn't think twice about something like that, so he was waiting for her when she got there.
Then how did he get out?
He didn't. He didn't leave. He hid on the premises in the back of a closet or something like that.
No, I checked it out. The police did too. It was a party for two, just Margot and I.
Well, you're not guilty, are you?
Logan, the only way to get out of that place was through the terrace doors. I mean, the service elevator was locked tight.
Somehow, I don't see Elliot shinnying down 30 stories worth of rope.
Maybe he got out on the terrace, jumped off, and flapped his arms real fast.
Why didn't I think of that?
Now, when you get a serious answer to these questions, you come back and see me.
Oh, it's a deal.
Hey, Swifty, I want to thank you for all your support in this mess.
You get my bill in the morning. Moral support runs about $25 an hour with me.
It's cheap at twice the cost. I'm serious. I'm trying to keep April calm with this hanging over my head. I'm just glad I have you in my corner.
Least I could do. You're not guilty.
Yeah, I know, but I want to ask you something, Logan.
Mm-hmm. Shoot. Bad choice of words.
If I'm indicted for this murder...
Oh, Draper.
No, come on. Hear me out. If I'm indicted for the murder, you going to prosecute?
It's not going to come to that.
You're not answering my question.
It's a ridiculous question. That's why I'm not answering.
And it's a big case, Logan. If it were anybody else, I'm sure the DA would head up the prosecution team.
Come on, you two, it's on the table. Who wants turkey? Who wants ham?
Turkey and ham. Reminds me of a couple girls I used to date. I think I'll have one of each.
Good evening, Nicole.
It's more like morning. It's late.
Well, I was driving back to the department. I saw your lights were on. I figured you were up.
Do you have any news about Margot's case?
No, I just wanted to see how you were.
Well, I'm all right.
I saw you report Margot's death on the news tonight. You didn't look all right.
Derek, I feel very awkward.
What's the matter?
Well, I appreciate your concern, but I really can't ask you to stay.
It's late, I understand.
Well, yes, there's that, and also, I'm scared.
Of what? What are you afraid of? Or is it who? Is Miles here?
No, I don't know where Miles is. He's moved out. Derek, this is really a terrible thing to have to say, but I feel like he might be watching me.
Deborah Saxon saw Miles today. She told me that you two had separated.
Yes, he moved out when I was in the hospital. But I saw him today at the studio.
What kind of mood was he in?
Well, he was very controlled at first, but he still doesn't trust me. He's still jealous.
Man has a one-track mind.
He made some more accusations. I can't believe that he means what he's saying.
What was it this time?
Well, as you say, he saw Deborah Saxon today, and she told him that I was in your office.
I see.
He takes a perfectly innocent situation and he twists it.
You're a beautiful woman, Nicole. I can understand a husband becoming a little overprotective, but Miles has gone off the deep end.
Well, you do realize that up until a month ago that he was warm, considerate, kind, level-headed man?
Yes, I understand, but now he's totally irrational.
His personality changed overnight.
This is why I thought that he was responsible for your accident.
Derek, I have been telling you the truth. Miles didn't hit me.
Oh, you can understand my questioning you. It happens to so many women.
He's not a wife beater. Now, what do I have to do? Swear on a stack of Bibles?
All right, I'm sorry. I consider it dropped.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I suppose Miles has enough problems without being tagged a wife beater. Believe me, I know what that's like.
Well, you know, these misunderstandings can be very cruel.
You can take one fact out of context. It becomes a whole different story.
We're a perfect example of that, aren't we?
I don't follow you.
Well, we've had to spend some time together, and Miles assumed the worst possible reason to explain why. And it was a misunderstanding.
Maybe Miles isn't so far off base.
What?
I mean, Miles misinterprets your motive for us having spent so much time together lately, but maybe not mine.
What do you mean?
I've been thinking. Maybe I've been contributing to his feelings of jealousy. Not intentionally, but... Well, hell, I used to be jealous of him. Nicole, you're a perceptive woman. And I know sometimes I don't come off as subtle as I try to. I like you. You must be aware of that.
Well, we're friends.
Nicole, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes, I guess I've sensed something.
Maybe Miles has picked up on these feelings, even if they are one-sided.
Derek, this is very awkward for me.
You must think I'm a fool. I've jumped at every chance to be with you, whether it was business or personal. Sometimes I feel like I've even been parking myself on your doorstep.
Listen, if I've given out the wrong signal, I'm really sorry. It was unintentional.
I've always known exactly where I stood.
I guess this sort of thing happens to most everybody now and then.
It's not going to happen to you. You love Miles too much. I think you're right. It's getting late. I'm going to go.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. She's gone, Miles. I only knew my mother for 1 year, and she's gone. Well, look, don't... I'm fine. God, where have you been? I've been so worried. I've been worried sick about you.
I should have been here earlier. I wanted to.
Well, you're here now, and that's all that counts.
Truth is, I haven't really been myself lately, and I kind of didn't want you to see me until I got my head
Okay,
back
look,
together.
sit down, relax. Miles, what's wrong? You want a cup of tea?
Oh, sure. What's wrong is that I just ignored two very wise ladies when they told me that I had been working too hard, and the pressure finally got to me.
You look real wound up.
Last night, my office had been one of those really long days, you know, and I felt like there was a spring wound up inside of me.
Yeah, look, you've got to take better care of yourself, Miles.
I thought I had a good temporary remedy. You know, I went to the storage closet, and there's a bottle of whiskey there, a present from one of my patients, and I poured myself a good, healthy dose.
You won't be the first man to take a drink after a long day's work.
I'm ashamed to admit the rest of the story, except I suppose Steve Guthrie will probably tell you.
Well, what happened?
Well, I got stinking drunk. I passed out cold at my desk. Steve found me. He was nice enough to take me back to his place and let me sleep it off.
Miles, this isn't like you at all.
I know, it's unusual. Funny thing is, I swear I only had one drink.
If you're not used to drinking, that's all it takes.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Logan, the whole night is a blank. I can hardly remember what happened. I know I woke up at one point, and I thought some fresh air would do me some good, you know. So I got up and I went out for a while.
That helps sometimes.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, Logan, I couldn't tell you where I went or how long I was gone or what I did on that.
Miles, it probably doesn't matter anyway.
This all happened last night?
Yeah.
Busy night. There's a lot going on.
Well, you've been trying out my office for size. I hate to tell you, detectives, but I have no immediate plans of retiring.
No, we were waiting to talk to you. It's important.
Gee, the looks on your faces would sink a battleship.
We've been checking out Elliot Dorn's alibi tonight.
Thought you already did that.
Well, this is his second story. He admitted the first one was a phony.
Was he stalling for time to make a more creative effort?
He said this time involves a young lady.
Sounds a bit more interesting.
Well, it gets less interesting. He wouldn't give us the young lady's name.
Why not?
Just the chivalrous type, I guess. He said that she's married, just like he is. Get it?
Obviously, he doesn't want Nola Madison to know the truth. She certainly wouldn't like to know that her live-in boyfriend has been carrying on behind her back.
So what this means is this new alibi is no better than his first alibi.
That's right.
And so that means that it's all the more certain that Draper Scott is innocent.
Oh, now, Chief, I didn't put it that way.
It's okay, Deborah. I give you credit for trying. You and Calvin and Steve and the others. What I give you credit for most is your loyalty to your friends. However, I'm not a friend. And I know who killed that woman.
Well, I've never seen so many beautiful flowers.
You know, we even told people not to send them, but nobody listened to us.
Well, I'm not sure you realize it, but some of those flowers came from the mayor's office and lots of other public officials.
Honey, look, April, Draper, you must be exhausted. Look, like maybe we should go home.
No, you stay right here. Really, I'd feel better with company. Come sit down, wouldn't you, Draper?
Oh, absolutely. Look, I ordered some food, and it should be out there. I'll go out and get it in just a second.
Well, I'll do it. No nonsense. You just sit right down. I'll be guest hostess.
I'll help you.
Good.
Well, there is one thing we might do this morning, but I'll leave that up to you.
What's that, Mike?
Well, as you know, I was the executor of Margot's estate. I brought her will with me this morning, just in case you might want to get that formality taken care of as soon as possible.
Oh, look, don't you have to do that in an office or something?
Not necessarily. In fact, the will is quite brief and simple. Except for some bequests to charities, you were the sole beneficiary. Why don't I read it to you? I, Margot Huntington Dorn, a resident of the city of Monticello, residing at 123 Rivershore Drive, being over the age of 21 years and of sound and disposing mind and memory. Maybe I should just skip the legalese. The first clause deals with the payment of debts. The second clause deals with her bequest to several charities which are listed separately. The total amount being somewhat over $1.5 million.
God, that's a lot of money.
This is the third clause. I give, devise, and bequeath all the rest and residue of my property after the payments of debts and expenses provided for in paragraph 1 hereof, whether such property be real, personal, or mixed, of whatsoever kind or character, and wheresoever situated, to my beloved daughter, April Cavanaugh Scott. Except for some details about the executor, that's it. All of it. I don't know the exact value of the estate, but I can tell you, you've become a wealthy woman, April. I'm not sure you realize just how wealthy.
I've heard that Margot was well off, but I never had any idea of the numbers involved.
It's only a guess, but I'd say the value of the entire estate is probably about $6 million.
That much?
Of course, about $1.5 million goes to charity, but that still leaves a considerable fortune to be managed. Now, you may want to liquidate some of the holdings, the newspaper holdings in Springfield, for instance, but there's no need to get into that right now.
I don't believe it. You know, it's almost as if I am being rewarded for losing my own mother.
No, honey, come on. You can't think that way.
Excuse me, dear.
You have to realize that Margot doing this was her way of showing you how much she cared for you, how much she cared for the baby.
April, I don't know if you thought about it, but you're my boss now. The station was part of the bequest, wasn't it?
Yes, of course.
You know, when you're feeling better, you're going to have to concentrate on the problems at the station.
Well, that's right. Margot owned it, but she also was the station manager.
I hadn't thought about any of that.
We're going to have to think about the apartment, too, Mike. She owned that, didn't she?
Yes, she did. So now you have to decide what to do with it.
Well, I certainly don't want to live in it, Mike. We already have a house right here.
Nicole, why don't we go on outside and finish up here?
Look, let's, to change the subject a little. I missed Miles at the funeral.
Oh, no, he was there.
He was?
Yeah, excuse me. I saw him in the back of the excuse me, the chapel. He came in late. It's okay.
God, that's so sad.
I gather that Miles and Nicole are having some problems.
Yes, they're having problems. Isn't everybody having problems right now? I mean, the whole year. It's just...
April, the year has just started. I'm sure things will get much better.
I think they're going to get a lot better in 3 months when little Julia is born.
Julia? So you've already named the baby?
If it's a girl, yeah. But if it's a boy, I don't know what we're going to do.
You know, Margot was looking forward to this baby. She was even looking forward to being a grandmother. You know, I'm feeling chilly all of a sudden.
Here, let me make a fire, all right?
No. But what you could do, I'd really appreciate it if you could just run up and get me a sweater. I think there's one on the bed.
Sure. Excuse me, I'll be right back.
Thanks a lot. Mike, I've been trying to talk to you alone all day. Could you please tell me what happened the other day down at police headquarters? Draper has told me absolutely nothing except it was a formality.
Well, that's what it was. After all, Draper did find the body.
Mike,
so what he had to say was very important.
I'm not a baby. I know it's more than that. Draper is a suspect, isn't he?
Insofar as anyone who might have either motive or opportunity could be considered a suspect. But you'll have to agree in Draper's case, there really wasn't motive.
Wasn't there? He was absolutely furious with Margot, and he did nothing to keep that from the police. I'm sure Chief Mallory mentioned it.
Yes, the subject did come up.
Well, there you go. The police know that there was motive, and as of right now, they have no idea how anyone else could have gotten in or out of that apartment.
Honey, I can't find it upstairs. You'll have to go take a look.
Okay, thanks, Annie. No, I didn't see Miles at the ceremony. It's just as well that Mike didn't tell me. I guess he didn't want to be seen.
Nicole, I don't quite know what's happening, but is it possible that Miles is ill?
Yes, I think so. Well, nothing else would explain his behavior.
Yes, well, now, Mike thought that he looked like a man with a very high fever. Has he seen a doctor?
No, I don't think he would see anybody right now. He doesn't think that there's anything wrong with him.
With him?
He thinks that there's something wrong with me. He thinks that I'm having an affair.
He what?
It's about the last thing that I'd expect from Miles. I mean, he's such a reasonable man. You know, he always had such faith in the power of the rational mind. Well, right now, I'm just very afraid that his mind...
Nicole, do you think it's possible that he's having a breakdown?
I know he is. I'm sure of it. And that's what's so horrible. I mean, I'm sure of it. I know he is, and there's There's nothing I can do about it. And you know, he came to the studio last night, unexpectedly, for no other reason than to accuse me again of having another rendezvous with Derek Mallory. That's his delusion. He thinks that I am in love with Derek Mallory and I am having a passionate affair behind his back.
That's awful.
Excuse me, that phone call was for you, Nicole. It was Chief Mallory, I think. You can take it right over there.
Thank God Miles isn't here.
I'm going to take these inside.
Hello?
Hello, Nicole. It's Derek. I hope you don't mind me calling you there. I tried to get you at home, but Mrs. Goodman told me that you probably still be at your sister-in-law's house.
Well, yes, we just came back from Margot's funeral.
Yes, I know, and I thought you might be feeling low, and maybe you wouldn't want to be alone. I take it Miles still isn't home.
No, he isn't.
Well, it occurred to me that you might have dinner with me. Just a quiet one.
Derek, are you serious? How can you be asking me that?
Oh, well, I didn't know if it'd be a good thing to ask or not. I just thought I'd try. I guess I made a mistake. I'm sorry, Nicole. Goodbye. Jerk. You never did have a good sense of timing.
Well, I don't know. That might be a thought. Let's check the chimney. I mean, maybe the killer thought he was Santa Claus.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's possible. There was a fire going.
Well, that could have just been a clever ruse. I mean, he could have climbed down the chimney and then made a fire so it would appear that he didn't.
Well, that's real clever, Calvin. So, what if he did do that? How did he get up? Back up the chimney?
Well, I can't know everything now, can I?
Well, I think you have been way too long. Besides, it's a little too narrow. What about the roof? You checked it out completely?
Well, it's been checked 3 times. There's absolutely no access to the terrace from the roof without the killer jumping 50 feet.
Well, what's wrong with an athletic murder?
Yeah, but he would have to have been a grasshopper to get back up again.
I still think somebody could have used a rope and a grappling hook.
Yeah.
To me, that's the only logical way somebody could have gotten out of here.
You should hear some of the theories I hear in the squad room. I mean, would you believe a human fly? Robbie Moskowitz actually thinks that some guy with suction cups on his feet climbed up the side of the building.
I think Robbie ought to stop reading his comic books.
Yeah. There are a couple of guys who think there must be hidden passages in the apartment or something.
I don't know, this isn't an English manor. This is a high-rise luxury apartment. It hasn't even been here for 4 years. They don't build secret passageways in places like this.
Yeah, I know. But don't forget what Sherlock Holmes said.
Well, Watson, what did Sherlock Holmes say?
He said when you eliminate all of the possible theories, then the impossible has to be the answer.
Yeah, well, doesn't help very much, does it?
No, I guess it doesn't. We really haven't eliminated all of the possible things.
You talking about Draper?
Yeah. I mean, I like the guy too, Red. You know that. I mean, I can't see him standing here clobbering his wife's mother with a poker. I mean, but at the same time, all the facts.
Guess it would be easier to accept the obvious.
Oh, well, I heard what the chief said. I mean, we can't really afford to ignore the obvious, can we?
I prefer what Sherlock Holmes said. There's got to be some way somebody got in here before the murder, hid out, and hid out afterwards.
It's possible, but Draper said he searched all the rooms himself.
Well, maybe he was distracted.
And he wasn't so distracted that he didn't pick up one of these.
Well, he did. He thought the murderer was still here. He needed a weapon.
Yeah, but now how are we going to prove that it wasn't the murder weapon that he had?
I don't know.
I mean, it was just all the soot from the fireplace, all over his hands. Maybe there's another way.
Well, you know there's another elevator in the place.
Yeah, but the service elevators are locked up tight every day at 6 o'clock.
Well, maybe it was unlocked.
Maybe so.
Well, why don't we just go to the basement and check it out, huh?
I'm willing.
Calvin is really afraid about this.
Why?
Well, it's kind of like looking for a lost ring or a wallet or something. You know, you kind of hate to look in that last pocket.
Yeah, well, lady detectives first.
This has got to be the answer, Calvin. The penthouse elevator goes straight up to the penthouse, but the service elevator stops on every single floor.
Yeah, if it was available that night.
Well, Mr. Hill, hello. Do you remember me? I'm Detective Saxon, Monticello Police.
Yeah, sure. How's it going?
Oh, not too good. This is my partner, Calvin Stoner.
Mr. Hill?
Just call me Louie.
Okay, Deborah tells me you run this place down here.
That's right. And let me tell you, sometimes it's like running a battleship.
Louis, I know I asked you about the service elevators.
Oh, yeah. Well, like I told you the last time, there are 5 elevators in the building. 2 for the tenants, 1 of them for the penthouse, 2 service elevators, 1 on this side of the building, 1 on the other side of the building.
Now, you're saying that there are only 2 elevators that could have gone up to the Dorn apartment?
That's right.
Now, you told the police that the service elevators get locked up at 6 o'clock every night, is that
That's right. Last garbage collection is made at 5:30, then we put the lock on it. The management is real strict about that.
Now, are you absolutely sure that the service elevator was locked the night that Margot Dorn was murdered?
I did it myself, miss, just like I do every night.
Are you absolutely certain now that, I mean, well, you know, there's just no chance that you might have just overlooked it one time?
No way, mister. No way at all. It cost me my job I do a thing like that. Besides, not just the lock that stops it working. I also turn off the power switch that operates the darn thing. You take my word for it. Whoever got into that apartment got in the regular way. Right up the front elevator.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I've got it right here. Major Barbara. Uh-huh. 5th race on the nose. Okay, you got it. Yeah. Yeah, well, I'll take care of that for you, Mr. Watt. Right, that's Major Barbara, huh? Ah, good choice. Yeah. Tell me it's 20 to 1. I guess some people are just optimists. Morning, folks.
Morning.
See, that's a sad business upstairs, isn't it? Felt real bad about having to tell you people what I did. But what else could I do? I guess it looks pretty bad for Mr. Scott that way, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, Oscar.
I got nothing against the man, you understand. Nothing personal. Always thought he was a real nice guy. But, you know, have to tell the truth. Well, didn't I?
Yeah, Oscar, you gotta tell the truth.
Look, Oscar, are you absolutely certain? I mean, there's just no doubt in your mind that you didn't see anyone else. I mean, there was no one hanging around the lobby, no one who might have known Mrs.
No,
Dorn.
I didn't see anyone. Mr. Scott was the only one I let upstairs to see the lady. She had just arrived herself. A minute.
Yeah, what are you thinking?
Well, there wasn't anybody that went into the elevator. Actually, didn't even come into the lobby.
Who do you mean?
Well, you know how you like to step out to get a breath of fresh air, you know, when there's nothing going on in the lobby, of course. And I did see somebody passing the building, someone who did know Mrs. Dorn.
Who was it?
That doctor friend of hers, I don't remember his name now.
Doctor?
You know, the one with the mustache, a good-looking fella. They sure looked kind of funny that night.
You talking about Dr. Kavanaugh?
Yeah. I'll talk to you in a day or two, April, so we can iron out the details of the will. I'm sure probate won't be long or complicated because the terms of the will are so clear.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Mike. And Nancy, thank you for everything.
Please, anytime. Listen, you take care of yourself, all right? I will.
Nancy, thank you for coming.
Listen, are you sure you don't want to stay for a little
Right,
while?
right.
Oh, no, I've got to get over to the station. It's pretty chaotic over there. But the schedule's pretty well organized for the next couple of weeks, and I can take care of the news broadcasts. Don't worry.
It's a lot of work.
No, I think I'd rather be busy right now. Honey.
here.
Nicole.
Draper.
Thank you for coming.
Sure. Listen, you drive safely. Oh, I will. Say hi to Adam. Bye-bye.
Oh.
I am exhausted.
Yeah, I can see why. Look, do you want to go upstairs and lie down for a while?
No, I can't sleep.
Well, you can still rest. That's important.
You know, it's amazing how your whole world can turn upside down in a matter of a couple of hours.
The good thing about that is you know for sure that it's going to turn right side up for you again soon.
Oh, yeah? I don't know. I'm afraid.
Sure you're afraid, honey. Got a lot of anxieties. Can you think of all that's happened in the last couple of days? Man, that's a lot.
You know what I've been thinking a lot about? My dreams. Draper, I have been wondering how much they have to do with what has happened.
But it's got nothing to do with what's happened. I mean, did you dream that this was going to happen?
I didn't dream about Margot, but I did dream about you.
All right, if you put 3 detectives out there, that leaves you 1 free to roam around. That sounds good to me.
Excuse
Okay.
me, Chief, is it okay?
Yeah, come on in. Where you guys been anyway?
We were checking out the Dorn penthouse.
That sounds good to me. Detective, you know Dr. Corwin?
Oh, yeah, I remember you from the hospital. Deborah Saxon.
Yes, I believe
Doctor?
you did.
This is Detective Stone. He's working on the case also.
Hi, Doc.
How do you do?
I hope we're not interrupting.
No, you're not interrupting at all. As a matter of fact, you may be very interested in the statement Dr. Corwin just gave us.
I really had no intention of volunteering this statement, Chief.
Well, we asked you, so you didn't have any choice.
No, I guess I didn't.
Well, has it got something to do with Mrs. Dorn?
Yes, Dr. Corwin was Mrs. Dorn's physician. In fact, he was in attendance when she came to for a short while.
Oh, I understand she didn't say anything.
Well, that's a false assumption on our...
What do you mean?
Doctor?
Mrs. Dorn did say one thing before she died. As a matter of fact, it was just one word.
Well, was it somebody's name or something?
No, it wasn't.
Doctor, please give him the circumstances.
Mrs. Dorn's daughter, April Scott, was there. And she asked her mother if, she asked her mother if her husband was innocent.
Is that exactly how she phrased it?
Yes. She was pleading with her mother to say something to that effect, that Mr. Scott was innocent of the crime.
And what did she say?
She said, no.
What?
I'm sorry. She shook her head slightly and said no, and that was all.
Thank you very much, Doctor. We don't need to take up any more of your time.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, no.
Well, looks like we don't need to sit on this any longer, do we?